Everyone, I'm psychic medium Chris George, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Victor the Voice Fuhrman and Jeremy Adams. Welcome to our show, Vision Quest, where we will try and unleash the power of your mind. It's February 28th, and we are airing live on DTMWickedRadio.com as well as BlogTalkRadio.com. And we want to thank everyone for being here tonight. If you guys have a pen and paper, why don't you take down this call-in number, because we will be taking call-ins for our guests tonight, who will be giving numerology readings. The number is 818-431-8214. That's 818-431-8214. This is going to be a very interactive show. Each week we will bring on someone to join us in a discussion on the week's topic and take calls, and we'll take calls as well. So sit back, relax, and let's cross the threshold of reality together, people. And like I said in the chat room, it's Friday night. It's 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Get yourself a glass of wine, a shot of scotch, or whatever you want. Kick back, enjoy the show. We're going to have a good time. Anyway, if you want to friend me, I'm Chris George. Victor is Victor Fuhrman, and Jeremy is Jeremy Adams. I have a fan page, which is Psychic Medium Chris George. Victor has a fan page, which is Victor the Voice Fuhrman. What else do we have here? We have a Vision Quest group page, which I think everybody really should start becoming a part of. It's going to be, it's really a great page, and we do a lot of stuff on it, and we let you know what guests are coming up, and it's very interactive and whatnot. And we are also, if you are on Google Plus, we also have a community page, which is obviously called Vision Quest. Another really interesting thing that we just did this weekend was I created a Vision Quest room on Pal Talk. So if anybody has a Pal Talk account, friend us on Facebook, and every so often, like a few nights a week, what I do is I open up the room and we have great discussions, just spur of the moment type stuff about psychic, paranormal, whatever you guys want to talk about. You can ask me questions. Every now and then Victor is there as well, although he's been very busy the last couple of weeks. So think about it. The first night we did it, we had 12 people in the chat room. We had a great time. Anyway, what else do we have going on, Victor? We have Odd News with Jeremy. We have a Thought of the Week from Victor. And, of course, call-ins. We want call-in people. So, Victor, why don't you introduce our guest?
Chris, our guest is Michelle Arbeau. She's an internationally recognized celebrity numerologist. She's an author, an inspirational speaker, and radio and television host. She's written a book recently called The Energy of Words. Use the vibration of language to manifest the life you desire. And we had her on our other show, Second Sight, and she was absolutely right on and wonderful. And we welcome her back for our guests on DTM Wicked Radio and Vision Quest. Welcome, everyone, Michelle Arbeau. Good evening, Michelle.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the intro. I just wanted to add that I actually have two books out that came out at the same time last fall. In addition to The Energy of Words, I also have Soul Numbers, which is another book on numerology. So I have two. I don't recommend writing two books back-to-back, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. So definitely those two are available in major bookstores.
You held out on us. We would have talked about that book on the other show also.
Well, I assumed you knew, but...
Not a problem. I'm just
I just want to say, Michelle was a guest on our other show, which is Second Sight, and we had such amazing feedback from that show that we figured, we have a new show here on DTM, Vision Quest, and we thought, well, why not bring her on Vision Quest? We had such a great response on the first show. I'm sure we'll have just as good response on this show. So really, it's an honor to have you here with us again, Michelle. Looking very, very, very forward to this show tonight.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here on this Friday night. It's actually raining very, very hard in LA, which is incredibly unusual because it rarely rains here. But there's actually thunder and lightning and flash flooding and mudslide warning. So it's really an unusual Friday evening, to say the least.
And that storm that's affecting you right now is going to come across the country, and it's going to dump snow on us here in the East Coast on Monday and Sunday night. So we're not looking forward to it. But, it's interesting. I was hearing that the rainfall that you're getting in the West Coast right now is equivalent to something that you have over 2 or 3 years, and you're getting it in like 24 or 48 hours. So hopefully everyone is safe out there.
Yeah, it is dangerous and it's treacherous because a lot of people in LA aren't familiar with driving in the rain, and it gets pretty treacherous. But it's really refreshing to see this rain because it's very, very rare. But it's coming down in buckets, and it's been doing it all day. And I've been traveling back and forth to LA for years, and I just moved permanently to LA before Christmas. But it is something I have never seen before, so it's quite amazing.
Mm.
All right, well, why don't we get on with this interview? I know everyone is dying to know about numerology. Like I said on the first show, I'm so interested in it, but I know very little about it. So for those listeners out there who know really nothing about numerology, have no idea what it is, Michelle, why don't you just give us a basic description of what exactly numerology is?
Well, numerology to me is the science of numbers. If you think about numbers are really the building blocks of the creation of all things. I mean, it really is like the energetic language or the language of the universe, because everything can be reduced to numbers. And it is, like I say, a universal language where regardless of whatever country or origin you're from, you know what numbers mean, and it's kind of this universal code that everyone is aware of. And I have to go back to, a little bit about my story and how I started with numbers, because it was such a great journey. About 12 years ago, I started to dream in numbers every night, and it was this weird phenomenon that happened for about 3 months at a time, where I was just every night dreaming in numbers on license plates and street signs and doors. You name it, they were showing up in different places throughout my dreams. And I couldn't figure out what was going on, why I was dreaming in numbers. So it went on for about 3 months until I really started to dig a little bit deeper and try to figure out, okay, what's going on? What are these messages? What are my dreams trying to tell me? And I found numerology and realized that these number messages were exact answers to what was going on in my life at the time. So it was just an incredible kind of aha moment for me, where I realized that numbers are really so much deeper than just mathematics. And even quantum physics. I always say that numbers are more about quantum physics than metaphysics, and numerology in particular, because it really represents the energetic patterns that make up all things. And so when we look at numbers and look at your date of birth, it's like spiritual DNA, and we can really see who you are, what you're here to do, and how to do it.
Well, Michelle, I would like to know, where did numerology come from? Where did it originate?
Well, they say that Pythagoras, who was the Greek mathematician and philosopher, he was really the father of numerology. But I think that, the Mayans and people like that, they were really tuned in to number patterns and numerological information. So I think that it's been something that has been around for a very, very long time. And even the Mayans have the 1111 code, which is something that is a global phenomenon right now, where a lot of people are seeing 1111 on clocks and phone numbers and addresses, those kinds of things. And they have it throughout their literature. So there's a lot of, sources as to where numbers and number meanings have come from. But I think, to me, I feel like it's been always something that has been ever present, and it's been this code that we've yet to decipher completely.
Michelle, are there certain numbers that are more powerful than other numbers?
Well, if you think about numbers, every number in existence is created with the numbers 1 to 9, and also 0, which is more of a symbol than a number. So when we're looking at numbers, or even numerology, we're always looking to those base frequencies or those base patterns. So every number, whether it be an address or a date of birth, can be reduced to those base energies from 1 to 9, and also the 0 energy. So we're always looking to those. So those, I'm not saying they're necessarily more powerful, but those are the base building blocks, energetically speaking, when we're talking about numbers. So those are the essence of the numerological code.
Michelle, I know you love to give readings. On the last show, you gave myself and Victor a reading. Jeremy, why don't you give our guest your birthday and see what she comes up with for you?
Excellent. My name is Jeremy Adams, Jeremy Adams, and my birth date is 4/13/1977.
Oh, wow. Right off the bat, I know this is a difficult one. Yikes. Okay, so you've got a lot of challenging energy here. Let me see. 10, 17.
You think, Michelle?
17. Totally. Okay, so right off the bat, you've got the same life path number as Hitler, which I know that gets people every time, right? Okay, so 24. Let me see. 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh yes. Okay, so let me just do my little hen scratching here. 6, so 8, and you would be 9 and 10. So you are 37 this year, right? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So 37, 31, 40. Okay. So you, interesting. Okay. So this year in particular seems to be a relationship-focused year. I don't know if that's something you're seeing right now or if it's something that has come up for you recently, but it's definitely relationship-focused, but also the number of creativity and creative expression. So there's a twofold to that, whether it be you're focused on creative endeavors and you're really looking to build in that aspect, but really a 6th year is usually about relationships and shifting in that respect. But your battlefield has always been relationships because you're missing all the soul plane numbers. So when someone's missing all the soul plane numbers, most people say gasp at this point and think, oh my goodness, I have no soul. But really what it means is that you're hypersensitive on the soul plane. So you don't have a lot of soul protection, and your emotions are very sensitive in terms of connecting with other people. So you really keep people at arm's length. You tend to box up your heart, box up your emotions. Relationships are your battlefield. You also have isolated 3 and isolated 9, which really stresses the fact that you have a lot of mental energy. You do have a lot of ideas, but translating those ideas and expressing them to other people or bringing them to fruition and making them happen is really your challenge area, the secondary challenge area. First off is relationships and connecting with people on an emotional level. Secondary would be the mental energy and being able to translate it well. But you do have such a tremendous amount of physical energy. It's kind of a shame in a sense because I think you're underusing it. You have a lot of the energy that wants to do things, that wants to make it happen, but you're thinking to yourself, okay, so why is it not happening the way that I see it in my mind, or why am I seeing so many obstacles to make it happen? So you're one of those people that seems to get beat down when you want to make something happen, or you feel like you're hit with life handing you a bum deal kind of energy. So it's extra challenging. It's more hurdles than you'd like to see, but in hindsight, I think what it's doing is building personal experience in the emotional realm for you. And in particular, this year is really a relationship-focused year, but globally it's a 7-year. So it's all about authenticity and really stepping into your personal power and relationships in terms of the connection we have with ourselves. So it can be a very pivotal year for you in terms of what you're going through energetically and what the global year is. So definitely it's looking at your energy broken down, though. You have the gift of the knowledge bearer, and you're also carrying as your year energy, which is the how. How do you translate that knowledge to other people? It's the 6, which is the visionary. So you're definitely the one that sees things from a greater perspective or sees the eagle's eye view, so to speak. So you're the one that connects the dots for other people through sharing what you know and sharing the information that you have.
That was, Jeremy, what do you think about that?
Dude, that's dead on. I'm sitting right across the table from Kenesha, and she's sitting there shaking her head, yes.
Well, I'm over here in New York shaking my head, thinking to myself, oh, my God, I mean, it's like, that was like 100% spot on, Michelle. I mean, really spot on.
Well, I can't take credit. Like like I say, it's not me. I wish I could be the one to take credit for it, but it's the science of numbers. It really is. It's a science. It's 100% accurate. I have yet, in my 12 years of doing this, ever come across someone who has not resonated with their numbers. And it's, like I say, again, I wish I could take credit for it, but it's not me. I'm just the message bearer. I'm the one that delivers the message. I'm the one that reads the numbers, but I don't take credit for the fact that these numbers are like your spiritual DNA. So you were born with this information. I'm just relaying the message to you. That's really the bottom line.
Well, thank you.
That was outstanding. Michelle, we have a caller on the line. Dawn, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing wonderful. Everyone, I just want you guys to know, Dawn, I know Dawn for years and years and years, although I haven't seen her for years and years and years. Very good friend of mine. She used to come to my seances and my healing circles, and I think you even came to a couple of my psychic development classes. I'm not even sure, it's been so long. But
no, Dawn, I haven't been to any of your psychic development classes, but I think we've been on several adventures in terms of like your healing circles and everything.
Yes. Well, Dawnie is one of my very good friends, and Dawn, why don't you give your full name and your birthday to our celebrity numerologist, and I'm sure she's going to get you spot on as well.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, my name is Dawn Moore. My birthday is December 5th, 1977. Now, I would like to give you the time of my birth because I have a twin sister. So if I just gave you my birth date, then you would just be doing a reading for me and her. So my time of birth is 12:13 a.m.
Oh, you came prepared, huh?
And Dawn, this is Victor. While Michelle is crunching your numbers, I just want to say you were born 5 days before my daughter.
Oh, check that out.
Yep.
Cool, Sagittarius. Ow.
Yep.
That's right. Well, I'm a Sagittarius as well, December 9th.
Hey, I do remember your birthday, Chris.
Okay, so you've got a lot going on here. So you are, so again, the same year, so you would be 37, right? Is that correct?
I'm 36. I just turned
37.
36. Yeah, I'm going to be 37 this year. I just turned 36, but as a gift to myself, I'm still 35, so.
Yeah, I'm 29, darling. Okay, so let me just see here. So we've got 40, 49. Okay, so I'm just calculating your cycles here because I want to see what energy. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so you've got a lot of the same energies going on. Not so much in the way of hindsight learning as the other birth date I just did, because really it's not isolated. So it's a little less, but you still have a lot of hindsight learning because you've got those double sevens. So you tend to attract here we go again kind of thing. Oh my goodness, I've got to see. I told you I've got an emergency alert on my cell phone with the flash flooding. So if you heard that beep, that's what it is. Okay, so with the double sevens, you've got those hindsight learning experiences, those things where you're attracting the same patterns, the same people, the same things that really bring about hindsight learning, or, I won't do that again, or here we go again, that kind of energy.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that happens when you're younger, and it tends to lessen as you get older. So if you feel like, it's getting a little less as I'm getting closer to 40 kind of thing, then yes, that's what happens, because, you really start to get it and say, okay, wait a second, I recognize this, and I'm going to stop it kind of thing. You also have the arrow of determination, so you tend to be a little bit more pig-headed or a little bit strong-willed in terms of when you want to do something or you want to achieve something, and you can have your blinders on, so to speak, so you might go the wrong way a little bit longer than you should and say, well, wait a second, maybe this isn't the right way for me. So your determination can really take you a little bit farther than you might like to go. But I noticed that the arrow of determination has double ones at the base, which means that a lot of your determination is expressed verbally. So if there's something that you don't like, or you feel like it's unjust, or that it's not right, you will very much be verbal about it, and you really will express, wait a second, this is not right, this is how it should be, kind of thing, and you can become very vocal about that. But you also have the 32-5 life path, which is the Hitler life path. And in particular, this life path has a lot of challenges relationship-wise, because they can go from independence to codependence and back and forth. So they tend to have this kind of swaying of the balance in terms of how they feel, especially in relationships. 5 is a number of the heart and represents freedom of expression. So they are very loving people, and they want to love and be loved, but they also have this tendency to keep people at arm's length because they want to protect their heart energy. So, you're very sensitive emotionally as well, because you've got the number 2 and the 5 on the soul plane. So definitely I could see you with some relationship challenges, especially in your younger years, for sure. Now, with your cycles, she's
so spot on. She's spot on with this.
I know
you know what?
she is.
You're very similar to Jeremy, because, again, it's a personal year of 6, so it's all about relationships. It's all about focused on shifting in the relationship aspect. The flip side of that is also creativity and creative expression. So you might have some of that this year, but it's definitely relationship shifting is the focus, because your peak cycle, which is a 9-year cycle, the outer cycle is an 8, which is all about stepping into your personal power and stepping into your confidence and really saying, you know what, I need to change this, or I need to do this. A little bit more extra oomph to your energy, if you know what I mean. So if you feel like before you couldn't change, or you felt like you were stagnant and you couldn't really make the move, you're going to feel like it this year, that you can really go for it and say, you know what, I need to end this, or I need to disconnect from this person. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's an intimate relationship. It could be friends or family or coworkers, or all different levels of relationship shifting.
So what do you think, Dawn?
Are you experiencing that?
She's absolutely right. And I've had readings done before by different people. Yours is spot on. It's unbelievable. One thing that I also agree with you with is that numbers, the quality of numbers is more quantum than metaphysical. And I noticed that in different milestones of my life, certain numbers were affiliated with me. Like I guess about 3 years ago, my number was 3. About 2 years ago, my number was 7. And it wasn't until the middle of last year and this year, my number is 8. And I have been standing up, like you said, just, whenever I see something that was a pattern, I'm breaking those patterns. And I do agree that it is because of my 8. And in regards to relationships, because I've always had troubled relationships, I've pretty much cut myself off, and I'm not open. Like, Chris knows my story, but you're absolutely right in terms of my relationships, So I'm in awe right now. I'm pretty shocked because, like I said, I've had readings done before, and they were never on point. It was very general. Oh, number 5. Oh, this is what number 5 is, and you can just read it in the book. But somehow, this is your niche here. You're so spot on. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And like I say, I'd love to take credit, but really for me, when I was 4 years old, I had a near-death experience, and it really left me with a lot of psychic gifts. And when I read numbers, it's really what sets me apart from other numerologists, is that I see numbers at a deeper level, at almost like they are entities to me, that I am able to see them at their vibrational frequency. And so for you, you said you had a twin sister kind of thing, and reading her energy may be a little bit different than reading your own, simply because you carry a different path in terms of how you use your energy. So we could have the same date of birth, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're carrying the same energy, because we may have experienced different things that have led us to different areas of using those numbers. So whether it be double sevens, well, yes, you could definitely say both of you probably had your fair experiences with hindsight learning, but there's so many variables with numbers and so many sides to the numbers. There's positive and negative traits. So it doesn't mean that if two people were born on the same date that they're always going to have the exact same reading, because that's necessarily not the case. And definitely if you break down things like your time of birth, and you gave that to me, and that's a 7. So that really even further breaks down your energy and says, okay, you're carrying the 7 as your time of birth. 7 is the truth seeker. So it's all about seeking the truth in all things. Whatever you're seeking, whether it be in relationships or your career, those kinds of things, it's always digging deeper to find the truth. But also the flip side of that is really stressing the fact that you have issues with trust, either trust of the self or trust of other people, and hindsight learning. So again, it reinforces that hindsight learning experience for sure.
Outstanding.
Wow.
Hey,
Thank
Dawn,
you.
Dawn, let me ask you a question, Dawn.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing radio? Because you seem to be a natural to me.
I've never thought about it, but I can consider it.
Well, listen, you have.
Is that an invitation?
That is an invitation for you to call in every single week, because I think you do a fantastic job on the air. So absolutely.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell my mom you said that.
All right, Dawn. Well, listen, I guess they're going to take you out of the queue now, but hopefully you'll continue to listen, because we're just getting started.
Oh, I'm going to be listening all night. She's got me hooked, so
I'll
be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
You know, she's Dawn is a special girl. I met her, like I said, a few years ago, and she just has this need to learn, and she does it really quickly. So I'm happy she called in. I haven't really spoken to her in many years, and it was actually very nice to hear from her tonight. So go ahead, Jeremy.
One question. Chris, we both did the numerology reading online just to see, what it said. It gave us a life path, Michelle. Can you tell a life path? They gave us, both Chris and I, both life path number 5. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, and are you both the 32-5? So does it add to 32 before it reduces to 5? I know that the first date of birth I did was a 32-5, but is yours that as well?
Mine is December 9th, 1968. I don't know how that works out.
Okay, so 7/9/1968. Is that what you said?
Yes. No. 12/9. I'm sorry.
Oh, 12/9. Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Let me see. 24. 7. Okay, so I'm getting a 9 with you. So if it's 12/9/1968, is that right?
Yes, December 9th, 1968.
Okay, so 24. So I'm getting a 36/9 for you. This is a different life path. So no, you're not a 5. You're a 9, which is the humanitarian number.
Right. I think when I saw that online, I said to myself, that didn't sound right, because I've been told by every numerologist that I was a 9. So
yes, you are a 9. Yes.
So would I still be a 5?
Yes. Well, the 5, the 4/13/1977 that I did, that's the one that you're talking about, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So you're a 32-5. Yes, that's the artist number. That's the one that, if you look at the number before it's broken down to the 5, you want to see, okay, what kind of 5 are you? Because that really stresses in terms of what your greatest strength is and what your greatest weakness is. So the 32-5, the 3 is the outer number, which is the greatest strength, and the inner number, the 2, is your greatest weakness. And that's why this particular combination, like the life path number of Hitler, is very wishy-washy in terms of going back from independence to codependence, because 3 in a positive form is very inspirational, very optimistic, very imaginative. It's a number of imagination and memory. But in the negative, it can be very self-doubting and self-critical. And then if you look at the 2, in the positive, it's very supportive, it's very harmonious, peaceful seeking. It's a number of intuition and sensitivity. But in the negative, it can be very codependent and very dualistic. So the 2 together, when they get into the negative space, can drag that 5, which is a number of freedom of expression, and naturally very up and down. So if you could look at 5 energy, it would be very erratic. It would be very free-flowing because it's a number of freedom of expression and the number of the heart and emotions. So when you get into a negative space, you can become controlling or dominating, or people may see you as trying to control them or manipulate them. And in the positive, you can be very inspirational and supportive and be very loving. So there's 2 very strong and distinct sides to the 32-5, and especially in intimate relationships, they can be very almost like pendulum swinging energy, where they go from one side to the other sometimes, because they just get in those spaces where they're opposites in every aspect. So the 32-5 is one of the most challenging combinations of the 5 for sure. But the 36-9, I have to say, 9s are such great people because they are the most giving people. They're the humanitarians. They're the ones that would give their shirt off the back and then some. But they also are very opinionated, very black and white, right and wrong in their thinking. They can be very boxed in terms of how they believe things should be, and they have set opinions and beliefs. And this particular combination, the 36-9, can be particularly negative because you've got the 3 and the 6 before it reduces to 9. 3 plus 6 is 9. And in the negative, the 3 is very self-doubting and self-critical. The 6 is very pessimistic and judgmental. And so the 2 together can really drag that 9 down into a negative space. And I always say in particular with this combination of the 9, always surround yourself with positive people, places, and things, because this one will get you every time. You really need someone to pull you out of the gutter, so to speak, and really, get you out of that pessimistic mode where you're always thinking, well, I don't know if it's going to happen, or, those kind of negative thinking patterns, because it can really get you into that space for sure. But like I said, they're great people, not to completely say that that's the case all the time, because it's not. They're just, they're really genuinely good people that want to, give back and want to be of selfless service, and but they can be very perfectionistic people, very black and white, right and wrong, and usually they are justice-seeking people, so they want to right the wrongs of the world, so to speak. And I have to say, looking at your energy, you have a lot of mental energy. You've got double 9s as well, which means that you're exceptionally black and white, right and wrong in your thinking. Very opinionated. But in a good way. I mean, your motives are good. It's not to say that your motives aren't great, but they definitely are. It just means that sometimes you get locked in your box a little bit more than you should.
Yeah. Michelle, I don't think we ran my life path when you were on second sight. Would you do mine for me, please? 11753.
Wow, you're old.
Yes, I'm old. I have an old life path.
Sorry, man.
Well, that's not nice. No, you're young. You're definitely
one of my
still young.
best friends.
Oh, wow. I love this. This is interesting. Okay, so 15, 18, 20. Oh, yes. Okay, so you have the same life path as Gandhi and Mother Teresa. So you are a 9 as well, but you're a 27-9. So these particular energies, and if you notice with Gandhi and Mother Teresa, they tended to be followers before they were leaders. They went through a lot of turmoil. They went through a lot of life challenges. And the 27-9 in particular will always look outside themselves until they get that sense of inner self-trust. And the reason being is because if you break down the 27-9, the 7 is in the weaker position. So the 2 is in the outer. 2 is all about support, being the support for other people, being the go-to person. 7 in the weaker position, in the 27, is all about distrust and needing to find that sense of self-trust, but also trust of other people. So until you get that sense of, I'm going to trust my gut, I'm going to go with how I feel, I'm not going to look outside myself anymore for the next guru or the next book or the next piece of advice that's going to get me to where I need to be, I'm going to trust myself and my own judgment. That's when they really blossom, and that's when they really shine. And that's why Gandhi and Mother Teresa really didn't come into their own until a little bit later, because this is the nature of that life path, that they really need to get that lesson before they can really be who they're meant to be. And they're such great guides and leaders when they get to be in that space, because they really have that sense about them that says, you know what, I trust the flow of life, and I trust that I'm right where I need to be, and that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and they just resonate that energy to everyone else. And looking at your chart, you've got the arrow of determination, but you also have the arrow of spirituality. And a lot of people who carry that, like the Dalai Lama, for example, has the arrow of spirituality. And they say, being in the Dalai Lama's presence, for example, there's always this peacefulness that resonated from him. So it's an energy that just oozes, I trust the flow of life. So it really helps you in that respect, that, being that 27-9, until you get that sense of self-trust, you really haven't been able to own that arrow of spirituality. But I think at this point, at this age, you probably have mastered that and have stepped into that. And I'm sure people feel that about you, that you have felt, for a very long time, that you've got that sense of inner self-trust, and you resonate that sense of, I know all is well in my world.
Yes, and it did come with age. It didn't really kick in for me until about my 45th birthday, so.
Yes, and Vic, it usually happens. It's usually later, for sure.
Yeah.
Vic, it simply amazes me how you always get the good stuff, man. Every time, it's amazing.
Well, I know we have somebody else in the queue. I think we have Jody with us. Jody, are you with us?
Michelle, thank you very much for that. We're waiting for our next caller. Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hello?
Jody is.
Hi, Jody.
I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jody. How are you?
Hi, guys. Good. How are you?
Hey, Jody. How are you liking the show tonight?
It's great. When I could finally get on after the archive.
Jody, I just going to say, do you think you're talking to the archive right now, or are you talking to the live show? Which one do you think you're talking to?
No, I'm talking to the live. It's live.
Let me just tell you guys a little something about Jody. Jody is notorious for making bit strips of everybody, and she has made some of the best bit strips of myself and my girlfriend Christy and Victor and I. And I mean, really, you really do have a great mind. Anyway, why don't you give our guest your birthday?
6/30/1964.
6/30/1964.
Did you need the time or no?
Well, no, we'll just look at this for now, because, definitely we can break it down even further, because you can go so far with numbers. It's amazing. But, oh, wow. Okay, so this is quite a challenging chart. Let me just add this up. Oh, wow. 26. 29. Okay, so you are, wowzers. Okay, so this is quite something. 9. Oh, this is huge. How are you finding this year? I mean, this year must be off the hook for you in terms of feeling like chaos.
Oh, boy.
Or feeling like things are, you're in like a washing machine and you're ready to like be on the spin cycle, kind of thing. And I'll tell you, this year is going to feel like you started the year one way and ended a completely different way. So it's like this energy that wants you to turn the page really hard. It wants you to turn the next chapter. It wants you to like have that aha moment, so to speak. So there's going to be a lot of like turning over, just shifting in a big, big, big way. This year for you is a personal year of 16/7. And the word hate for example, vibrates to the 16-7. So when we say things like, I hate you, it's so energetically stripping. It doesn't mean that your year is going to be hate-filled. I don't mean it like that, but what I mean is that when we say the word hate, it's so energetically stripping that it wants to reveal truth in a big way. So being in a 16-7 year is all about revealing truth. It's all about saying, you know what, this is my moment where I'm going to make that 180 shift. And, globally, 2014 is the year of authenticity because it's a 7 year. So it's all about being authentic and really stepping into your personal power and saying, you know what, this is me and this is what I'm going to be, and if you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm going to be, this is how I feel, and I'm going to embrace it. And the fact that your life path number is an 11, which is the highest spiritual number, but 11s are usually the life paths that get lost most easily. So they tend to be here when they should be way over here, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So they tend to be so they tend to have a little bit of a harder time finding their path and their purpose and finding where they need to be in life. So they tend to have a lot of, hindsight learning, a lot of things that go on in their early life that feel like life's dealt them a bum deal sometimes, that kind of energy. You've really got a challenging chart because you're exceptionally mentally dominant and you have no soul plane numbers. So relationships are your battlefield and you spend a lot of time in your mind overanalyzing and overthinking things. So when I see that, it usually says there's a huge disconnect with other people. You really are misunderstood by a lot of other people because they don't quite get where you're coming from. They don't necessarily understand your thought processes, or when you try to communicate your ideas or your emotions, they don't come across in the way that you feel that is best representing you, that kind of thing. And you just have the single one as the verbal expression number. So it really stresses to me that you express yourself better on paper than you do verbally. So if I said to you, how do you really feel? Tell me about it. Or I said, write me a letter. I would much more see you in that letter and say, okay, there's all of her, than I would if you were verbally expressing it to me. So it's much easier for you to do it in a nonverbal way than it is verbally. So writing is definitely one of your skills, and I would recommend, just because you have so many challenges on the soul plane, that you should journal or things like that and really get things out on paper, because otherwise you're just going to keep bottling it up and it's not going to really be expressed. So even if you go through a relationship challenge and you feel like you haven't quite dealt with it, just write yourself a letter or write them a letter. Not necessarily give it to them, but just get it out on paper, because you're really good at it. Yeah, totally, because that'll be so therapeutic for you, because you'll never say it verbally. It's never going to happen. So it's one of your challenge areas. So you definitely should get it at least out on paper if you can do that much. And let me just see what outer cycle you're under. So you would be, let me see, how old are you now?
49.
49, okay. So
I'll be 50 this year.
No, you won't.
Let me just
yeah, the big 50.
Chris, we have to have a party for Jody this year. We're going to have a party for Jody.
Well, we can definitely do it.
If you can find me. I'm hiding.
Jody actually traveled all the way from Connecticut to Staten Island to come to one of my psychic development classes. So I would absolutely love to have a little party for her. And I know my girlfriend would love to meet her as well.
And I have to add that this is a career cycle for you, but not necessarily big on action right now. You're really kind of on the spiritual mountain right now. So you're really looking back to how far you've come and what you've done, and looking ahead to where you want to go next. So it's one of those pivotal moments in time where you're really going to shift gears in like a 180 way type of thing. So you're really going to, examine things on a full-on level. And being under that 5 cycle, though, it really is a theme of career, an underlying tone of career. So I don't know if you're focused on that now or if that's something that you want to be focused on. The flip side of the 5 cycle is also freedom of expression. So you really might be focused in on things like being more free in relationships, or wanting to be free of relationships, or relationships that have been smothering, that kind of thing. So on the flip side of career, it could also be that focus as well. I have to say that the 11s are actually one of the more creative life paths. So I don't know if you are in the realm of creativity or creative expression, but 11s tend to be the creative ones for the most part.
She's definitely creative.
Definitely.
So what do you think? How was your reading?
It's great. She's right on.
Well, she has been.
Well, I'm glad I could help you. It'll be a challenging year for you, but very transformational at the same time. So look forward to it. I know it'll be difficult. There'll be a lot of challenging aspects, but you're going to end the year in a great way. I think it's going to be one of those aha moment years, those ones where we connect the dots.
I need it. Great. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jody, thank you so much for calling in. That was great of you. And
thanks.
Nice
I was
going
to keep listening. It's easier on the phone than trying to click that.
There you go. And nice to hear your voice also. That's the first time we've talked, actually. I don't think we've actually spoken before. Really cool.
Well,
thank you so much.
You're supposed to come visit your office in Connecticut.
That's right. When I get up to Stamford, I'm going to give you a ring and we'll have some lunch or something. Great.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Have a great night, and please continue listening, my dear.
I am, definitely.
Okay, Victor, I think we have somebody else in the queue. You want to bring them through?
Yeah, but before we do that, I just want Michelle to announce to everyone, because everyone's hearing these wonderful readings she's doing tonight, and not everyone's going to have an opportunity to get her on our show. So, Michelle, if someone wants to reach out to you for professional services for a reading and your other services, please tell them how they can do that.
Well, the best way to reach me is through my website, which is michellearbeau.com, and that's spelled Michelle with 2 L's and ARBEAU.com. I'm also on Facebook under Michelle Arbeau, Celebrity Numerologist, and Twitter is just Michelle Arbeau. So definitely connect with me. I love to have people interact with me on Facebook and Twitter. I'm always on there interacting with people and answering number questions, those kinds of things. So check me out, and love to connect with you.
And also tell them about your books, please.
Yeah, I definitely had 2 books come out in the fall, which I don't recommend to everyone to write 2 books in 1 year, but it just so happened that it occurred that way. I wrote the first book, and I got a publisher within 2 weeks, and then I ended up getting an agent, because it's kind of one of those things in the publishing world where you can't get a publisher without an agent, and you can't get an agent without a publisher. So I was lucky enough to get the publisher, and then I got the agent who said, how soon can you have the second book done? And I said, well, I only have 1 chapter, but I can, buckle down and get it done. So she had the second publisher, so I ended up having 2 books come out literally within weeks of each other. So I'm glad I did it in hindsight, but I don't know that I'd do it again.
That's super.
And
thank you so much for
the books are. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted.
No,
to
go ahead. Go ahead. You talked about the process. You didn't mention the names of the books. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I guess I didn't. Yeah. So the books are The Energy of Words, use the vibration of language to manifest the life you desire. We actually had a name change on that last minute, so I'm always reluctant to. I always go back to the same title. So, and then the second one is Soul Numbers. Decipher the inner messages, or the messages from your inner self to successfully navigate life. And I wrote the Energy of Words first, and then secondary was the Soul Numbers book. So they both came out back to back.
Available on Amazon.com, in your local bookstore, and wherever great books are sold.
There you go.
Yes.
You sound like a pro there, Victor.
Well, thank you. And before we take our next caller, I think Jeremy had a question concerning numerology and names. Jeremy, why don't you ask that question?
Yeah. What does my name have to do with numerology? I mean, how can my name predict my path in life?
That's an excellent question, because our name is actually more representative of our personality. So when we talk about your date of birth, that is, more about your inner self or your spiritual DNA, like I refer to. And it shows us our inner traits and qualities and things that we have to work with from the inside. But our name is more like our mask or our personality and how the world sees us. And it's great to look at names, because most people think, my mother named me this and it was last minute and it was haphazard and I feel like I'm stuck with this name that I don't like and that kind of thing. But really, 99.9% of the time, I see names as being perfectly compatible to who you are and how the world is supposed to be seeing you. And even when women get married and change their name, that kind of thing, you would think that, this is just something that happens in life and, it doesn't mean anything, but it sure does. And if you look at parts of your life, and especially when you get married and those kinds of things, your life does change and your trajectory changes. And I actually changed my name about 12 years ago, and it perfectly matches now my life path and what I'm doing and how the world sees me as a numerologist. My name now is a 7, which is the truth seeker, the teaching learning number, the one who not only seeks truth but shares truth. So when I hand someone a business card and they read my name, they are feeling like they're going to get a piece of truth or a piece of something that they don't know about themselves. And that's exactly what I do in the work that I do, is that I reveal truth to people through their date of birth. I show them who they truly are and what they're meant to be doing. So I often find that. And things like Starbucks, the word Starbucks, it's a coffee company, and you think of Starbucks, where did they get that name, and why are they so successful with that kind of name? And it's not just about the fact that they make great coffee, it's the fact that their name is a 6. 6 is all about being the nesting energy. It's very much the nurturing energy as an address or a business location, for example. It can really feel like you're at home. And when you're in that space, you can feel like you're like literally in a nest. So when you walk into Starbucks and get your coffee, you feel that nesting energy, that feeling like you're home, that you're being nurtured. And so it really has added to their level of success, carrying that business name. And a lot of the great businesses that have done very well, coincidentally, have picked names, or not so coincidentally, names that really match their business model. So I really stress to people, if you're going to go into business or if you're going to present yourself professionally, you really need to pick a name that is going to match who you want to attract to you.
That's really interesting, because I have a friend who is she's not a great numerologist, but she is a numerologist, and my name is Christopher George Cirillo, and she told me if I use that name, in my psychic endeavors, that I would be a complete failure. She said, you need to call yourself Chris George, and you'll be a success. So from that day on, I've been known as, when I work as Chris George. And now, I don't know if she was right, but I have to say, things have gotten easier for me once I went to Chris George instead of Chris Cirillo. So I just find it very, very interesting.
Really quick funny story about my last name. My last name is Fuhrman, and in German that means the guy who drives the hansom cab, the horse and buggy or cab. It literally means cab driver. My wife, her ex-husband, her first husband, was a cab driver. Before she and I started going out, she almost dated another cab driver. I was the cab driver she was always looking for. We always laugh about that. So it's interesting how the meaning of the name can have a different significance, too, and the synchronicity behind it. So our next caller is coming in, and our next caller is Rain. Rain, are you there?
Rainy. It's
Rainy. I'm sorry. Rainy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Rainy. Good evening.
Hi, how are you guys?
Wonderful, thank you.
Fantastic. So,
Rainy, please tell Michelle your birthday.
August 28, 1976.
Oh, I like this one. I was actually, let me see, 6, 2, 8, 8. Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, let me just add this up. Oh, this is interesting. I don't think I've seen this combination in quite a while. You've got double 8, definitely. That strikes me right off the bat, because anyone who's got double 8, Lady Gaga, Michael Jackson, Christina Aguilera, Rihanna, there's so many of those shock and awe performers that carry the double 8s. And you've got double 8s in your date of birth. And I always call this the daredevil syndrome. a lot of people who have double eights will be the ones that live for the feeling of the experience. So if you think about all those performers I just listed, they're always the ones that bring those shock and awe performances, the ones that are like, wow, that was great. Really kind of, they bring the noise, so to speak. And it really is this energy. I travel with a friend who has double eights, and I always love it because she's always off the cuff. It's like we're walking down the street, and it's like, where did she go? And she's talking to a stranger on the street, that kind of energy. So they tend to be the ones that, if you do dare them to do something, they'll just do it because they really live for the experience of the thrill. And you are a 5 as well, which really stresses the fact that you are free-flowing or seeking that freedom of expression. But you tend to be a little bit more of a practical 5 because you're 4, your date of birth adds to 41 before it reduces to 5. 4 plus 1 is 5. But the 4 is in the outer position, so there's a little bit more of a practical flair to your 5 than, say, the 32-5, which is that very flip-floppy Hitler 5 that we were talking about early on. So it's a little bit more stable in terms of the energy, but because you've got those double 8s, you tend to want to seek out experiences that bring a lot of feeling to you, to what you're doing and to life. And it can be one of those energies where sometimes it's hindsight learning, sometimes only because you're seeking out things that bring about that thrill. So it can sometimes bring that. But you also have a lot of balance on all 3 levels. You have a lot of mind plane energy, you do have a lot of emotional or soul plane energy, and you do have a good amount of physical energy as well. So definitely you have a good balance there for the most part. But I would have to say your home base would probably be that emotional realm and the feeling realm. We just see 16, 17, 18. Okay, so this year is going to be definitely a self-reflective year, a year where you're going to be examining things in your life and just kind of contemplating, okay, what's next? Where am I going? What am I doing? How old are you now?
I will be 38 in August.
38, okay, so let's see. 10, 5, 6. Okay, so you would be, Oh, this is going to be a tough year for you. How has this year been so far?
So far, it's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
See, last year was a really tough year.
Really? 9?
Yeah.
Okay, because last year would have been a relationship-focused year. So I don't know if you've had a lot of relationship shifting or a lot of things happen in the realm of relationships. Doesn't necessarily mean it was a personal, like intimate relationship connection, but it could have been family, friends, co-workers, the whole 9 yards in terms of relationship shifting. And this year is more about you. It's more about being on the pivotal kind of spiritual mountain mode and saying, okay, this is what I've been through and this is what's happened. Where do I want to go next? And it is one of those years where you'll start the year one way and end it a completely different way because it is a 16-7. So it really is one of those energies that wants to strip you clean or turn the page hard or have that aha moment. So it can definitely be one of those challenge energies. And you've also been under a really high change energy for quite some time. You've been in an outer cycle of 9. So there's been a lot of like whirlwind changes back to back on every level, whether it be career, relationships, location changes, you name it. It's like always like one thing after the other kind of energy. And you're looking to stop that soon, though, because in the next couple of years you're going to be entering a 6, which is, number 1, all about relationships and wanting to feel like you need to nest and be finally in that relationship that you're looking for, that kind of energy. And, maybe starting family and those kinds of things, or that kind of energy, just feeling like you want to be with that person that you're meant to be with. But then the flip side of the 6 in the next couple of years will be the creative energy, so wanting to create new things in your life, whether it be career, those kinds of things. So you're going to be entering a brand new cycle very soon, and not quite yet, but in the next couple of years. and it's going to be a vastly different energy than you've been under, because you've been really kind of put through the ringer, so to speak, with personal experience and really feeling like it's been whirlwind change for quite some time. So it's going to end soon, which is great. You also have the Arrow of Great Expression. Yeah, and you also have the Arrow of Great Expression, which really says to me that you're a doer. You know, you're always wanting to be involved in the next thing or the next project or the next focus. So it's a good thing. Your wheels are always churning, but it can get you into trouble at the same time. So it's one of those arrows that are very restless, that if you're not focused on something, you really can't relax, or you can't, you're always thinking about the next thing, or wanting to be involved in life in some way, in an active way.
Speaking about the next thing, Michelle, I have to interrupt for 1 second just to say that you're listening to Vision Quest on DTM Wicked Radio, and you're listening with Chris George, Jeremy Adams, myself, Victor the Voice Fuhrman, and our special guest tonight, Michelle Arbeau, celebrity numerologist extraordinaire, who is absolutely just blowing people away with her reading of their numbers.
Well, all right.
You.
So do we go on to the next caller? Rainey, what do you think of your reading?
Actually, it's pretty close on. I do have a lot of turmoil going on right now, a lot of changing. I went back to school, and I'll be graduating in August. So, yeah, it's pretty spot on.
All right.
Great. Yeah,
I have to say that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say, yeah, it's definitely a pivotal time for you. So it's good to hear that you're graduating and those kinds of things, because it's really a good time for it. It's really a good time for you to be shifting out of the old and into the new kind of thing. So finishing up, projects and finishing up school and then going into the next thing, because this year in particular wants you to turn the page hard. It wants you to turn the leaf and start new things and turn the page, or the next chapter, I guess, the next chapter of your life.
I really want to turn that page and move on.
Yeah, and that's what it's wanting you to do.
What did you want to hear, Jeremy?
Well, I have to say that I've known Rainey for 20 years, and, she's the only one that I have kept in contact with out of the people that I went to school with. She's an amazing person and a great friend. Just wanted to add that in there. And the fact that...
your check's in the mail, Jeremy, by the way.
I had to promise to buy her husband an airplane to get her to call into the show, so...
Oh, you better start working overtime, brother.
Yeah, no kidding. My husband has expensive taste.
There you go.
Well, Rainey, thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome, guys.
Have a good night now.
And
our next guest coming online for a reading from Michelle is the beautiful and fabulous Kanisha. Kanisha, you there?
Hi, guys.
Hey, Kanisha.
How are you, Kanisha?
I'm
Kanisha,
good.
Why don't you give Michelle your numbers?
My numbers. I don't know. You need my name spelled out, I'm sure.
No, I just
need
your
your date of birth.
My date of birth, 10/17/1983.
Okay, so let's see. This is an interesting one. Absolutely. Let me see. 18, 19, 20, 21. Oh, okay, so you are a pure 3. You are 8, 9. Oh, and again, it so intrigues me, and I see this time and time again, that whether it be a radio show or a workshop or whatever I'm doing, I usually gather people who are going through the same experiences. It's the weirdest phenomenon. Like the last book signing I did, I always end up doing a few readings at the end, and everyone in the group had no soul plane numbers, for example. And tonight, we're looking at, this is the third or maybe even fourth, I'd have to look back, that is in the personal year of 16/7, which is that word hate, that wants to turn the page hard, that wants to be, give you that aha moment. This is the 180 shift that you're looking for. This is like your moment to turn the new leaf, turn the new chapter. So yet again, you're in that personal year of the 16-7. So like I say, it's like the third or fourth person tonight that has had that. And I just did another radio interview before this one, so I'm sure I had a few people then, because I just feel like I've been going through the same personal year with everyone who's called. So definitely for you, it's, again, that 180 shift where you're wanting to turn the page. You are a pure 3. I'm a pure 3, so I really get this energy. I really understand it. The pure 3s are almost like they have a one-track mind. They're always wanting to uplift and inspire other people. That's really their purpose in life. They're really the inspirationalists. 3s are the bright, sunny people that always have the sunny face on, whether they're happy or not. They're always the ones that say, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. They're really kind of the sunny moth to a flame kind of energy. So when a 3 walks in a room, they end up being like the social butterflies. So people always congregate toward them and gravitate toward them because they do have this glow about them that they just, like I say, the social butterfly for sure. But underneath all of that, there tends to be this, energy that is very self-doubting and self-critical. And that was one of the things that I had such a hard time overcoming, was that sense of needing to get approval from everyone, having everyone like me. I was always the people pleaser. So the pure 3s really have an issue sometimes with the self-doubt and self-criticism, to the point that it can really paralyze them to not be able to take action in their life, to make things happen, because they're always on the fence. They're always wishy-washy because they're not sure if they make a move, is it going to be the right one? Are people going to accept them? That kind of energy. So it can really hold you back in terms of making things happen in your life, especially with the self-doubt and the self-criticism. With you as well, you've got isolated 1s, triple 1s. And what that says to me is that you don't have an easy time with expressing how you need and what you feel and what you want in a relationship or with any other connection for that matter. So you do have communication challenges in terms of expressing your more inner self. It doesn't mean that you can't get up and speak well in front of, a group or something like that, but when it comes to personal expression or expressing your inner feelings, then yes, it's definitely a challenge area for you. Let me just see, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you're under a higher cycle of 9, too. So just like the last caller, you're under that really transformational turn-the-page year, but your outer cycle is very, very high change. So you've been thrown a lot of personal experience. You've been going through a lot of, high change for sure for the past several years, and it will continue a little bit longer because you're still in that high change cycling mode. You also have the arrow of great expression or arrow of activity. So again, that restless energy that wants to do, that wants to take action, that wants to be involved in projects and things and accomplishing things, that kind of stuff. So it is, definitely a beautiful energy, but it is a challenging year for you, I have to say, without a doubt. How has it been so far for you?
It's been definitely changing, but my change has been so much for the better of my life. It's incredible, the changes that I've made the past just few months, and I look forward to many, many more. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always say people who are under a 16-7 year that they will start the year one way and end it a completely different way. That's how much your thrown change. But it doesn't necessarily have to be all bad change. A lot of people will experience things that, rock their foundation, so to speak, and really kind of shake it up in a big, big way. But it can be positive as well. So the bottom line is you're going to experience a lot of shifting, a lot of changes, and it's going to really rock the basis of your foundation. But it can be good. So I'm glad to hear that it is, on a positive note thus far, for sure, because it doesn't always happen that way.
Well,
Kenesha, thank you so much for calling in. Jeremy, you're going to say something? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, Michelle Kenesha is absolutely the love of my life. She's an amazing girl, and your reading was dead on. I mean, just spot on. But I have a question for you real quick. Should the birth certificate name or the current name be used to calculate a numerology chart?
Well, when we're looking at names, like I say, it's your personality and how you express yourself. So if you think about life in general, if we're at work or we're with family or friends or we're doing something, who knows? I mean, maybe we're playing a game of softball or something. Who knows? We wear different hats in different situations, and you really need to look at, okay, what name am I using in those situations? With friends and family, I might go by my nickname, or I might just go by my first name. So that's the energy that I'm giving off in those situations. What if I'm at work or I'm giving someone a business card? It might be my, first and last name that I'm using. But when we look at our full birth name, it's always going to be present. Even though we don't necessarily speak that energy on a regular basis, our full birth name, the one that's on our birth certificate, is always going to be the underlying tone to our expression. So regardless if we put on different hats in different situations and express our personality in a different way, that's always going to be the energy that is underneath it all, so to speak. So you're always going to have that essence shine through to some degree, but, like I say, we may have an overtone of professionalism in business and, that kind of thing. So we need to look at, bottom line, what name are we speaking the most? What energy, whether it be a nickname, combination, or what have you, what is the energy that we're speaking the most? And that's the one that has the most energetic influence on you.
Well, thank you very much for that answer. And Kenesha, thank you for calling in. And we have another caller, Jessica, on the line. But before we do Jessica, I got somebody text me a birthday, and I'd like you to do it. Her name is Christine, and the birthday is 3/19/1969.
Wow, that's a whole lot of. Okay, so let's
Whole
just
lot
see.
of lotta.
We've got a whole lot of, because this person is extremely mentally dominant, to the point where not only are they extremely mentally dominant, let me just add, is that they're missing all the soul plane members as well. And they also have isolated ones, which means they can't express all that mental energy, and they can't express their emotional self. So they're really, and I can't stress this enough, that they're very top-heavy in their in their mental energy. So if you could look at their energy from an unseen level, they would have a huge head and a little stick body. That would be the way that they would present themselves energetically. Literally. I mean, this person not only has all three of the mind plane numbers, which creates the arrow of the intellect. And most people who have the arrow of the intellect are very intelligent people. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this isn't all bad, because this person is extremely intelligent. Nothing much gets past them. They're very quick to pick up on things on a social level, on a mental level, those kinds of things. But also this person has 999. 9 is very much the number of ambition, idealism, and responsibility, but it's also very black and white, right and wrong in its thinking. It can be almost tangent thinking, in terms of thinking so computer-like that not even the average person would comprehend even a little bit how they think, because they think very much at a rapid pace. Think about those kids who were born in the 1990s or the late 1990s. They all were diagnosed as having ADHD or ADD. And the reason being is because they had multiple 9s. And 9 is the most active mental number. So they think very much, like I say, computer-like. They're very advanced in their thinking. Most people don't get the fact that they think so rapidly, they come across as being hyperactive or having ADHD or ADD, because they are just beyond the average thinker. And then we have the group that after these ADHD group it was the 2000 babies, 2000 and later. So then we switched over to the 2, which is the number of intuition and sensitivity. So then we had the autistic group. So that's what's happening with this phenomenon with the, the epidemic, so to speak, with the ADHD versus the autistic group. It's just a change in energy. So this person would definitely suffer from symptoms of having ADHD or ADD or being very distracted mentally, that kind of thing, or having challenges with expressing their thoughts and their ideas and those kinds of things. And missing the soul plane energies would be definitely a relationship challenge area. Let me just add this up. 27. Oh, and you know what? This particular person is an 11, which is the highest spiritual number. And again, that's another challenge because the 11s usually are here when they should be way over here. So they tend to be one of those life paths that get lost very easily and get distracted in terms of what they should be focused on. But on the bright side, the 3811s are always the life paths that seek fame and fortune in the sense that they're always doing something on a global level. They always feel like there's something big or broader that they should be focusing on. So they're always seeking that. So it's a great energy. It's just that I am concerned with the fact that there's a lack of focus with this life path because it's hard to harness all of that mental energy for sure. Let me just see, 9, 10, 12, 13. Okay, so this year is very pivotal in terms of self-reflection. It's a pure 2, so it's definitely going to be a subdued year in terms of action, but definitely a pivotal year in terms of figuring yourself out, figuring out who am I, what am I supposed to be focusing on, where am I going? And that's really going to be the theme of your year, really revealing truth and revealing who you truly are and your gift and your path and your purpose. So not so much big on outer action, but so much so on figuring everything out.
All right, beautiful. Michelle, we have so many people calling in. I want to get as many readings as possible, if you don't mind. Do you think? What do you think? Like 3 minutes per person?
Yeah, we can keep it simple, for sure.
Yeah, so many people are calling in. We've never had so many people call in before. They're loving you. So now we have Jessica in the queue. Jessica, are you with us?
Yes.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi.
Hello, Jessica. Would you like to give your birthday, please? Jessica?
Hello.
Yeah, could you give your birthday, please?
February 9th,
Jessica.
1970.
February 9th, 1970. Okay, so what have we got here? Okay, so, yes, okay. 10, 17, 28, 11. Okay, so this year for you is really high change, definitely. Let me see. And so you would be under, definitely high change, but a lot of opportunities coming at you. Definitely one of those energies where you're attracting abundance and attracting opportunities that are falling into your lap, which is a change of pace for you because you're definitely one of those people who suffers from a lot of hindsight learning. You've got a 7 on your chart, which is isolated. So definitely stresses the fact that you've been attracting repeating lessons or repeating patterns that feel like sometimes life has dealt you a bum deal, like I say, with those isolated 7s. And then you've got also isolated 9s. So with the 9s, 9 is the highest mental number. But when they're isolated, it usually means you have a difficult time translating your ideas through the verbal sense. So really expressing what's in your mind to other people can be a challenge, and you feel like they don't quite get you or they misunderstand you, that kind of energy. And again, with those multiple 9s, it tends to be a tendency towards ADD or ADHD kind of symptoms. And I mean, not to say that you have that, but it just means that you think on a tangent or you think more rapidly than the average person and they just don't quite get where you're coming from, that kind of energy. You've got a single 1, which is the number of verbal self-expression. The most balanced expression is the 1. So you have a not as easy a time of expressing how you feel and what you need and what you want. But definitely this cycle for you is high change, abundance, and manifestation. You are a 10, which is the earth guide, so you lead through casual conversation. So you are the one that is all about communication. And when it comes to yourself, you might not necessarily be able to express yourself well, but when it comes to something you know or something you want to share with other people, you are the communication number. You are the earth guide.
I write very well.
All right, Jessica.
And I have to add, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add one thing, is that your gift is the 11, which is the highest spiritual number, and your year is the 17-8, which is the God frequency. So you really have a lot of guiding energy. You have a lot of energy that says you are the mentor. You are the one that is a knowledge bearer, the one that leads through casual conversation. So there's a lot of energies in there that really stress that you have a lot to say, and you're meant to verbally express it.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Okay, Jessica, thank you for calling in. I know we have another caller in the queue, Karen. And I'm sorry I'm rushing the callers off, but we have so many callers calling in, so I apologize. Don't send us hate mail saying that we were rude and we threw you off the air. We're not throwing anybody off the air. But, Karen, are you with us?
Karen, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hey, Karen, how are you?
Hey, Sugar, how are you?
Great. Give Michelle your birthday, Karen, please.
It's March 20th, 1959.
See, I just amazed at some of these combinations that keep coming in. Like I say, with the soul plane energy and the other things that we've been seeing that keep repeating, and these double nines keep showing up again and again in these callers, and this person again has the multiple nines. So let me just see, 18, 19, 24, and again an 11. So you are an 11, which is the highest spiritual number. The 11s tend to be way off target in terms of their life path and their life purpose early on. And I think for you in particular, because you're the more conservative combination of the spiritual guide, you tend not to embrace the spiritual side, especially in your younger years. You're more, embracing that conservative nature, being the 29 before it reduces to 11. And you also have the arrow of the planner and the arrow of determination. So there's a tendency there to be very black and white, right and wrong, or needing ducks in a row, so to speak. So much more of the conservative type energy on your chart for sure. You're very top-heavy in your energy in terms of being very clustered in the soul plane and the mental plane, and not having a lot on the physical to ground your energy. So definitely, if you're not doing something of a physical nature or not doing something to balance out your energy, physically speaking, you may find that you get lost in thought, or that you get lost in your emotional self, or you feel very unbalanced or unsettled if you're not doing something to help ground that energy. So I don't know if you're physically active or if there's something that you do of a physical nature, even, collecting stones or anything like that that is very grounding. You need to do something to be able to pull that energy down and make it more balanced. Let me just see, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this year for you is the 12-3, and 12 is the whole and complete number. 3 is the number of unity. So things are coming together for you. Things are coming full circle. There's a lot of dots connecting for you this year. I don't know if you feel that way right now, but it's definitely something that's coming together. Or, the things you've been waiting on are finally coming together. Let me just see, 8, 9, 11, 13. And you're really in a restructuring period. I don't know if you feel that way right now, but you're really in a restructure mode. It's an energy where you're almost looking at, tearing your house down and rebuilding it, so to speak. Just restructuring a lot of, or reorganizing and cleaning out your closet, literally and figuratively. So you're looking at saying, okay, what does fit in my life and what doesn't fit in my life anymore, and getting rid of what doesn't and bringing in new things that do fit. So like I say, restructuring, reorganizing your foundation.
Very much so, both spiritually and physically. And as far as the other, I garden an awful lot, so I've always got my fingers in the dirt.
Excellent. Keep doing it.
That's
All right,
terrific.
well,
Thank you so much.
Calling in, Miss Kay. You know, Miss Kay has been around for a long time with me, and it's always great to hear your voice. Thank you so much, Karen.
All right, sugar. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Jeremy, do we have somebody else in the queue?
Yes, sir. We have Derek in the queue next. Derek, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Derek.
Derek, thank you for joining us.
How's it going?
Derek, why don't you give our numerologist your birthday?
9/16/98.
And there we have it again. Triple nines. So,
like
I say, you know, the cluster, yeah, the youngin, but also, like I say, those triple nines are just, it just seems like I say, the callers that call into a show or the people that attend workshops, they tend to be in clusters like this. And yet again, we've got these multiple nines, just like, you know, several of the other callers. And I don't typically see that often, especially in the younger groups. You know, it's like, we'll look at the last caller, 1969. That's quite a far off year versus the late 1990s. Now, this particular caller, of course, he's in the latter part of the cycles of the 1990s. But so with this person, let me just add it up here: 18, 19, 27, 33, 34. Oh, okay. So we've got a 7 here. So 7s tend to be leapers. They tend to be the ones that leap before thinking. However, this particular combination of the 7, you're a 43-7. So you have the 4 in the outer position, which really stresses the fact that there's a little bit more stability to your energy. So you might be a little less hesitant to leap before thinking. You might be the thinker or the overanalyzer first, because the flip side of the 7, even though it's the most active physical number and they tend to be doers, they tend to like to work with their hands, whether it be anything from computers to being a hairstylist or butcher or surgeon, that kind of thing. They are very much hands-on people, but you are definitely very intellectual-based. You're definitely the thinker. You're definitely the one that is the deep philosophical side of the 7. And let me just see, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, and you know what? You've got the gift of the 16-7. So whatever you're doing, it's always about digging deeper to find the truth in the matter. So you're always wanting to say, well, wait a second. I need to have all the facts here. I need to know what's going on. I can't make a decision until I have all the facts in place, and then I'll make up my mind. Because not only do you have the gift of the 16-7, you also have the arrow of skepticism, but it's also called the arrow of the inquirer. So you need a lot of fact with your faith. You need to have all the pieces in place before you make up your mind about things. Let me just see, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is a career year for you. You're in a career mode right now. I don't know if you're feeling that yet, or the year's just starting, but it's definitely career focused. I have to say you've got an extremely challenging outer cycle. You have double back-to-back cycles of 16-7. So a lot of hindsight learning, a lot of attracting the same patterns, the same experiences, repeating the same lessons, but it's meant to be a blessing in disguise, because what you're doing is chalking up a lot of personal experience in a short amount of time in order to be that wise sage, because 7s end up eventually being the wise sages that share their personal experiences with other people. And they love to do that. They love to share themselves with other people and say, listen, I've been there. This is what happened to me. So what you're doing is going through a lot of that right now, back-to-back cycles of that. So if it feels like life has dealt you a bum deal, it hasn't. It's really something, they always say the more difficult the chart, the more evolved the soul. So don't take it personally. Don't feel like, why is it so easy for everyone else when it's so hard for me? It's because you're going through something that is very transformational, and you're taking leaps and bounds in terms of your soul's growth. So look at it on the bright side, definitely, because
Michelle, is there anything in Derek's numbers about relationships with older women?
Well, that
Michelle doesn't know about that. What Victor is talking about is Derek is friends with Big Ange from the Marvelites, and she has been known to get a little frisky with him at times.
We have some fun.
That's what he's talking about.
Well, it's a difficult chart. I mean, definitely, that's, there's not a lot of physical energy there on the chart either. So there's not a lot of grounded energy. Definitely, what I usually stress is that the 5s, 7s, and 8s, those particular life paths, usually have challenges in the relationship realm, because 7s won't take advice very well from other people. It's usually their way or the highway. So when someone says you should do white, they'll do black kind of thing, just because they have this rebellion streak to them. So, those 7s are quirky people where they tend to gravitate toward experiences that are not the typical or not the norm.
Okay, well, thank you, Derek, for calling in.
Thank you, Chris.
You're very welcome.
Take care, D-Rod. Nice talking to you.
Who do we have next? Do we have Sasha next?
I think we have Sasha up next, the fabulous Sasha.
Sasha, are you with us?
I am.
Hey, Sasha.
Hello.
Well, Sasha, why don't you give Michelle your birthday? And Michelle, just so you know, Sasha is another host on our network. So, and she is a young up-and-coming psychic medium who I am now officially mentoring. So I'm very curious to hear what you're going to say about her.
Okay, great.
My birthday is 10/5/83.
Okay, 10/5/83. Let's see. And again, that's another common theme I'm seeing with these numbers, is that there's not a lot of grounding energy. There's not a lot of physical energy. So if you think about the way that we operate as humans, we're either thinking something, feeling something, or doing something. So we've got the mental, the emotional, and the physical realm. And where our numbers are most clustered is where our strengths lie. And for you, you're definitely mentally and emotionally dominant, but you don't have a lot of physical energy. And it doesn't mean that you're not physical in the sense that you couldn't run a marathon or, be very physical. I don't mean it in that sense. What I mean is that you tend to reside in the emotions or in the mind a lot of the time. And you can sometimes feel like you're unbalanced when you get up in those upper planes without doing something of a physical nature to balance it out on a regular basis. So I always recommend to people who, don't have a lot of physical energy to be doing things that help balance that out. For example, I've got all three of the physical energies, and I'm a mental energy. So I don't necessarily have to do anything of a physical nature to ground my energy because I already have that. But where you're lacking that, you definitely need that to feel like you're whole and balanced. And let me just see here. 10, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 27. Okay, so you are the same life path again, like another caller was the 27-9, or I think it was one of the hosts, actually, that was the 27-9. So this is the same life path as Gandhi and Mother Teresa, but because that 7 is in the inner or weaker position, you're always looking outside yourself for the next guru or the next book or the next piece of advice that's going to get you to where you need to be, instead of looking inside yourself for that sense of, I know what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm going to do it kind of energy. And it's not a bad thing. It's just the way that your energy is set up, because you come in with issues of needing to develop a sense of trust, and that's one of your challenge areas. It's just naturally occurring within your energy. It's not something that's bad or that lesser than someone else. It's just that's your challenge area for sure, is that you really need to develop a sense of trust within yourself so that you can trust other people. Let me just see what cycle you're under.
Sasha, you and I have to start a Mother Teresa and Gandhi club together, okay?
All righty.
We both have Mother Teresa and Gandhi energy, so we'll start a club.
All right.
So you're under an outer cycle of, let me just see, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so yeah, definitely. So you're in an outer cycle of 6, but you're in a personal year of 4. So when we talk about personal years versus the outer cycles that are 9 years in length, the personal year is like our theme for the year. So what are we focusing on for this particular year? Yours is a 4, which is all about pruning. It's all about cleaning up the closet, literally and figuratively. So you're wanting to restructure. 4 is the number of the square, and it's 4 sides. So it's all about pruning. It's all about getting rid of what doesn't fit in your life and restructuring and reorganizing your life. And then your outer cycle is a 6. So it's very much relationship focused. It's really focused in on what relationships fit, what don't in my life anymore. I need to get rid of them. I need to bring in people that fit with who I am going forward, that kind of energy. So I don't know if you've been feeling that. The flip side of the 6 is also creativity and creative expression. So it can also be focused on that as well.
All right, outstanding. Sasha, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, Jeremy, we have you have a question you have for our guest. Go ahead, go for it, Jeremy.
Yes. Can numerology determine romantic compatibility? Excuse me.
It certainly can. And, if you think about the classic scenario of the nagging wife and the tuned-out husband who says, yes, dear, and you think, okay, well, why don't they connect? Why don't they work? And it's because one is very mental-based, who is always thinking, overanalyzing, that kind of thing. And the other one is very physical-based and doesn't have a lot of mental energy, so they're not necessarily meeting that other person on the same level. They're not speaking the same language. So what I love about numerology versus astrology is that astrology says, okay, you're compatible with this person and you're not compatible with that person. But numerology says that you have this energy and you have this energy. How do you make it work? How do you understand each other? How do you speak the same language? And that's really, the basis of, for me, when I talk about relationship connections. Everyone could work. Everyone could be compatible. It's just a matter of understanding who that other person is and where they're coming from. So if you think about that classic nagging wife and tuned-out husband, one is very hurt because the other one's not listening, and the other one's kind of annoyed because they just don't get where they're coming from. But once they understand that they are coming from this place or that place, they have so much more patience and understanding for that other person, and it becomes less personal, less hurtful, and they realize that it's just the way that they are. So for me, 99% of relationship challenges are miscommunication or misunderstanding.
Okay.
Okay, I think we have Donna next. Donna, are you with us?
Me and
Donna,
Michelle.
you there?
Hey, everybody.
Hi, how are you, Donna?
My birthday is August 13th, 1957.
1957. Okay, let's see. Oh, interesting. 10, 17, 2. Okay, so you are also a 7, which is 7s, like I say, are usually the doers, the leapers. For the most part, they tend to be the ones that just say, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna think about it too much. I'm just gonna do it. They tend to usually work with their hands more often than not. So they tend to gravitate toward life paths that involve the hands in some way. So, like I say, whether it be butchers or a surgeon, hairstylists, gardeners, what have you. It's always usually the hands because the energy flows through the hands with the 7. This particular combination of the 7 usually suffers from impatience. So they usually want whatever they want now, and they don't necessarily want to take forever to work towards it because they've got the 4 in the weaker position, which is all about impatience. But you also have the arrow of activity and the arrow of spirituality. So the arrow of activity will always keep you busy, always want you to keep doing, be active, always involved in life's experiences, wanting to do, wanting to go forward. And then the arrow of spirituality is really great with the 7 because it really gives you that sense of trust of life that says, you know what, I'm right where I need to be. I don't necessarily know exactly where I'm going, but I feel like I know that that's the direction I need to head in, even though I don't know where it's going to lead me, kind of energy. So
How
let me
does
just see
that
what
sound,
personally.
Michelle? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was asking Donna how that sounds so far.
It's perfect.
I know it is. I know it is.
Yeah.
Okay, let me
Totally
just see.
me.
So you are. Let me just see. So 29. I'm just figuring. How old? I'm just figuring out your cycles now. How old are you now? You would be
56, but I'll be 57 this year.
Really? Okay, so you're in the last cycle. So 8. And you know what? It's kind of like a save the best for last kind of energy. And I don't know if you feel like that, but it seems to me like you're in a cycle right now where everything's coming together. Everything's coming full circle. The things that you've been working on or the things that you're working toward, it's like I've arrived, or that things are kind of making sense to me now. And you know, where you might have felt discombobulated or a little bit lost on the pathway, it's like now I understand and now I see things from a greater perspective, and it's all coming together because you're in a cycle of 12-3, which is the whole and complete number, and 3 is the number of unity. So it is a connect the dots energy where it's all making sense now, and it's all coming together as you wanted it to, but not quite in the time frame you wanted it to, but it's now. The time is now. Let me just see. And also, let me see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. Yeah, and definitely. I mean, this is kind of a year for you. It's a number of new beginnings. It's the 1, but before it's reduced, it's the 10. So it's all about mentoring as well. So as much as it is a number of new beginnings and turning the page in that sense and starting fresh and starting anew, it is also about mentoring and giving back and say, listen, this is what happened to me. This is where I've been. I want to help you do the same kind of energy. So it's very much a strong pull to be the mentor, to be the one that guides other people now that you've been through all those life experiences and gathered your own, chalked up a lot of experience in a short amount of time.
Michelle's definitely right on with everything, and just to validate your integrity and credibility, I am by trade a medical massage therapist, so there's where the hands come in.
Yes.
But I am also transitioning into creating a business now for the past 3 years of being a coach, a trainer, and speaker. So there's the mentoring that's coming in. So absolutely, positively, I get the weight, and you're right. It's now just beginning to make sense. It's all pulling together. So thank you for that validation. I will trust myself more as the year progresses.
Absolutely. You're right where you need to be, and it's all, you're embracing your path and your purpose now. Like I say, it's save the best for last, because what you've been accumulating thus far has been preparing you for this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Donna.
Thanks,
Jeremy.
Chris.
Thank you, Donna. Jeremy's going to give his son's birthday. Michelle, Jeremy, what's your son's birthday?
It is 6/4/1997.
Oh, there's those multiple 9s again. Told you, they're creeping up everywhere. Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got another lack of the soul plane energy again. So let's see, 18, 19, 26, 30, and 36. Okay, so this particular life path, the 36-9, yet again, were you not the 36-9 as well? Someone was. One of the hosts was a 36-9. I'm pretty sure it was you. Yeah, so your son is also a 36-9. So you know full well what that energy is all about. So like father, like son kind of energy. Definitely mentally dominant, closed down in the emotional. He's younger just yet. It may not be fully closed down, but the more personal experience you get in the emotional realm, the more closed down you become, and the more boxed up your emotions get. So it's one of those energies where, live and learn. I hate to see these kids close up, but that's really their path, and we can't really judge because that is their path to live, right? And as parents, it's hard to see them do that, especially when they go through, relationship struggles or hurts and sacrifices and losses in that area. It does close them up even further. But he's got a lot of physical energy. He's got all of the 3 physical numbers and a tremendous amount of mental energy, but absolutely nothing on the soul plane. So he's got that disconnect for sure. He's got a lot of wanting to do things, and I'm sure he can be very physical in that sense. But translating his ideas and making them happen is where the stumbling block happens, to be able to say, okay, I want to do this, but why is it not working out the way that I see it to be in my mind? And that's the reason, because in order to manifest something, we need to think it, feel it, and do it. And when there's a disconnect of one of those 3 planes of existence, then there's very much a challenge or a block to be able to make it happen. Let me just see, 10, 11, 12. This particular year is definitely a year of abundance and manifestation, for sure, but it's a little bit leaning toward the spiritual or more soulfully self-reflective in that respect. So there might be opportunities, but it's more about bringing opportunities for inner growth as well, not just, outer, more materialistic things, but definitely the inner stuff. Let me just see what cycle, 6 and 10. How old is he now? Let me see.
He will be 17 this year.
17. So he's in, see, this is really high change for him, because he's in a 1, which is 1 is the pioneer number, the trailblazer, the number of new beginnings. It's all about achievement, success, drive, determination. It's always about going forward. 1 is like the number that can't be divided by any other number. So when you're under a cycle of 1, it's always about doing in the physical. It's always about achievement. And the fact that he has no soul plane numbers can stress the fact that he might be sometimes overly ambitious or overly focused on physical achievement and lacking in the emotional depth or lacking in the connection with other people on a more soulful level and more strongly focused on the physical. Has that been the case thus far? Or is that, and not to say that he's not giving, because 36-9s are very selfless people. They're always the humanitarians. They're always the ones to step in and say, look, I'll definitely do this for you, no questions asked. They will give the shirt off their back and then some kind of energy. So it's not to say that he's not giving or that he's overly focused in that respect. It just means that sometimes he might cut off his heart in favor of the physical stuff or the doing aspects.
Miss Arbo, he is just like me. First off, he's a straight A student. He's an excellent child. I am very proud of my son. He does shut down. If he's like me, if you piss him off or you disrespect him, he will shut you out in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. That's just how he is. That's how I am, and I have no qualms with cutting people out of my life, and neither does he. So
no, and you know what? That's kind of amplified because the 36-9s, they're so justice-seeking. They want to right the wrongs of the world. So if somebody says something to someone or to you or to whoever, and it feels wrong or it feels like, wait a second, you said something that's totally out of the line, and it's just not right. You really have this strong desire to right the wrongs or to make it right or to make it just. And the fact that you both are 9s lacking soul plane energy really stresses the fact that your emotions amplify that. So you're really going to have a lot of emotional impact.
We have time for about 2 more readings, so we're going to have to move it along. I think we have Bernadette up next. Is Bernadette there, please?
Yeah, let's bring Bernadette on. Hello, Bernadette?
Yes.
How are you?
Hi, Bernadette.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. What's your birthday, please?
4/13/45.
Oh, is that double 4?
I'm old.
I often see. You're not that old. You're just the youngin'. Okay, so
I'm old.
Those double 4s. That's an interesting combination because let me see. 4, 10, 15, 24, 28. Okay, so relationship shifting year for sure. I don't know if you're seeing that now or if there's, and oftentimes when you're in your last cycle and it's a 6 or a personal year of 6, it's usually about less about relationship shifting and more about enjoying the relationships that you have in your life, whether it be with grandkids or children, or just really enjoying those people and those relationship connections that you do have. So sometimes it can be about that a little bit later in life as well. Let me just see, 8, 6. Right. 14, 5, and 6. Yeah, you're in a double whammy 6. So whether you're seeing relationship shifting or not, it's definitely a hyper-focused period of focusing on that relationship stuff and really enjoying those relationships, but also maybe seeing some relationship shifting, whether it be starting, ending, or changing. So you may see people, even pass away, that kind of thing, or friendships drop away, new friends come in, all kinds of relationship shifting on every level you could see. But what I want to stress on your chart is that those double 4s, a lot of people who carry double 4s tend to be somewhat overly wrapped up at times in the physical stuff of life and not necessarily delving too deeply into the emotional or the spiritual stuff. So they can sometimes get wrapped up more in the doing parts of life, whether it be like the practical stuff of raising a family and going after your career or those kinds of things, and not necessarily going into the spiritual realm so much. And 10s in particular, you're a 10 life path. They tend to keep life on the sunnier side of life. They don't like to delve too deeply into life's problems. They like to keep life up here. So that kind of coincides with those 4s that says that you really like to be involved in the practical sides of life, the everyday humdrum of life, that kind of energy.
And thank you, for calling in. Thank you so much. And we have time for one more, Michelle. We have Val on the line. Val, tell Michelle your birthday, please.
Yes, hello, everybody. My birthday is 6/3/1973.
Oh, double 3s. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so 9, 1... Oh, okay. So yet again, we have no soul plane numbers. And how many times have we seen this tonight? Probably 5 at least. So again, this is big cluster of these people are missing the soul plane. Let's see, 10, 17, 26, 29. And yet again, another 11. So you are an 11, which is the highest spiritual number. You are the one that usually is lost in the early part of your life, especially with the relationship challenges that are on your chart. So a lot of hindsight learning with the isolated 7. The fact that you have no soul plane numbers means that there's a lot of relationship stuff going on, or there has been. And then you're very mentally dominant to the point where, you do have the arrow of the intellect. But having double 3s, you tend to be sometimes lost in thought, because 3 is a number of imagination and memory. So you can definitely overthink and overanalyze and dream up things that are, what-if scenarios and those kinds of things, to the point where you might imagine something that's, not even existent and worry yourself for nothing, that kind of energy. You also have a single 1, which is the number of verbal self-expression, and it's unbalanced. So expressing your emotions and how you feel and getting your ideas across isn't always easy for you. Let me see, 9, 11, 12. And again, we see those 16-7 energies. So you're under a 16-7 year, which really stresses that it's going to be one of those pivotal years, that you're turning the page hard, that you're really going to be starting a year one way and ending it a completely different way. So it's really going to be one of those years where a lot of whirlwind change, a lot of, especially on the inner level, you're really deciding, you're kind of on the spiritual mountain and saying, okay, this is where I've gone and this is what I've done and this is what I want to do next. But it is career focused, I have to say. It's definitely a career energy that you're under right now. So you may be re-examining your life in terms of your focus and your path and your purpose.
Val, thank you so much for calling in. And Michelle, you are an absolute gem. You have just blown people away. I can't tell you the reviews you've been getting. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest has been Michelle Arbeau. celebrity numerologist extraordinaire. Her website is michellearbeau.com. That's Michelle with two L's, ARBEAU.com. Her book's The Energy of Words. And what was the other book, Michelle? I forgot. I'm sorry.
Soul Numbers.
Soul Numbers, of course. How can I forget Soul Numbers? And you know what, Michelle, you are going to join us again in the not-too-distant future. I just know it. Thank you so much.
Miss Arbeau, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, thank you for being our guest tonight. Outstanding job tonight. Thank you again.
And Mr. Jeremy Adams, go with your odd news, sir.
Okay, tonight we have a case of the black-eyed kids at the traffic light.
Nice.
This is a case in, let me look up the name here. It's in Florida, okay? I'll read the story. It was the night of January the 20th, 2014 at approximately 10:20 p.m. This person had just left work and was taking a less-traveled home, Old 441, in Tavares, Florida. Everything was going as normal on their typical drive home until they came to a red light. No cars on the road at all, just them. Now, they were at a red light, and they seen some kids out of the darkness on the passenger side of the car. All of a sudden, a teenager appeared. He was about 15 feet from the car. He was wearing blue jeans and a hoodie that was up over his head. From what they could see, it appeared that he had little to no facial features, especially the eyes. The eyes were blacker than the darkness. They were very freaked out, and there was another child that was walking in front of the car as if to keep them from pulling forward when the light turned green. And the other child on the right kept coming towards the car. Well, when another car came up behind them, the kids disappeared. And the light turned green, and of course the person went home, but it really freaked them out. There have been many cases of people seeing these black-eyed kids. I'd like to know your thoughts, Chris and Vic, on have you heard any of these stories on the black-eyed kids?
Absolutely. On Second Sight, about 2 years ago, I interviewed David Weatherly, who wrote the book, The Black-Eyed Children, and he's one of the foremost experts on black-eyed children, and really an expert. He's a researcher, but he knows all about them. And from what I remember him talking about a couple of years ago, they always travel in pairs. People have the immediate feeling of fear and being overwhelmed and nervous and scared. They're always trying to get into your personal space, whether it be in your car, in your home, stuff like that. There are a couple foods of thought with the black-eyed children. Some people think that they're demons. Some people think that they're aliens. I kind of go with the alien hybrid. That's just my opinion. Victor, what do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know about the phenomenon, but from the description of the black eyes or the dark eyes, the sensation that I get is the body without the soul. And I can't explain it other than that soulless, perhaps soulless beings, and that's what I would phrase it as.
Well, go ahead, Jeremy.
I'm sorry. This story came from Sky Grayson on Google+, and our next show, next Friday, I will announce the winner of the month that will win a book from one of our guests.
All right. Well, I have plenty, and this is a great segue to let everybody know that I will actually be getting in contact with the author David Weatherly, and we will be booking him in the near future on Vision Quest, and we'll get we'll get all the info that we can on these black-eyed children. I know a lot of people don't believe in them. I know people who are very into UFOs and alien abductions and Men in Black and all that. They're very into the black-eyed children. And speaking of Men in Black, there's author Nick Redfern, and he's written a book on the Men in Black. And Victor, we need to get with him to get on this show also to talk about that, because that was a phenomenal book, and he's a phenomenal guest. So, guys, we have a lot of great guests lined up. Next week, Jeremy, why don't you tell the people about our guest next week?
Next week is Margie Kay. She is an expert at UFO sightings and mutilations, alien mutilations of cattle. She is based out of Missouri, and we will have her on the show along with odd news from Lord Rick from Google+. He has been investigating UFO sightings just right down the road from his house. So it's going to be a great show.
And finally, we have my thought for this week, which is we're talking about numbers. Appreciate each second and each minute of each hour in each day, in each week, in each month, in each year, because eventually all of our numbers will be up.
Nice, Victor. I like the way you did that, brother.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. It was a fantastic night. We had so many calls. We appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and join us next week.
Good night, everybody.
And thank you, Miss Arbo. Good night.